Do you want to hear a story? Specifically, a story about the time I ate an insect on accident. I don't go out of my way to eat bugs. I hate bugs. But please stay. Wait, no, I swear, it's not that bad. Okay, so this is how it started. It was in summer a few years ago, and I was in the kitchen eating some watermelon. Nothing weird there, right? Right? Well, it was like 20 minutes of me scooping watermelon with a spoon. And wait, there is one minor detail that's kind of important. The watermelon was like near the end of being finished, so it was getting like near the white part of the watermelon. So here, this is what happened. I take my spoon and scoop up some watermelon, like I have been doing, and I'm standing there chewing the watermelon, and after like 5 seconds, I feel something less like watermelon. At first, I thought I just took out a deeper part of the white and like the rim of the watermelon, but as I kept chewing, I was like, nah, I'm not able to chew this odd piece of watermelon. So I go to the garbage can and spit out a piece of watermelon. And as I look down to see if it were just a hard piece of watermelon, I look down into the spit out food in the trash, and you'll never know what it was. Well, the title says it all. A freaking ant was wiggling around in the watermelon. Nothing but fear and disgust was on my face at that very moment. I chewed on an ant, and the scary part was when I spit it out, it was still alive, struggling, but still moving. I shut the lid of the trash can and just stopped eating that watermelon. I was done. I think I might have had my drawing desk at the time, or I just went into the living room, but I sat down and just spaced out, trying to process that an alive ant was in my mouth, being crunched between my teeth. I had the creepy crawlies the rest of the day after that, and I stopped eating watermelon the rest of the summer. One thing about that story that confuses me is how was the ant still alive and in the very bottom of the watermelon? Either he's somehow got in our fridge and dug a little tunnel through it, or somehow was just living in the bottom of it and just chilling, not knowing that he was gonna die in a trash can after getting chomped on by a human being. I actually have another story about bugs. Less gross, but still cringy. This one is a little shorter, but here is some context that kind of makes the story make a little more sense. So before this little incident happened, I was bragging and kept saying, I'm never gonna get stung by a bee, ever. I'm not gonna let it happen. One of my sisters have gotten stung multiple times in one day, probably got annoyed with me after a while, and I don't blame her. And when this happened, I have to say I was like 13 or 14 at the time, and little me was about to have a real good reality check. So our living room looked kind of something like this, and I was sitting here, behind the couch, watching a movie with my family. Like halfway through the movie, I get up to go to the bathroom and grab water. So after I do, I go back and sit in my spot. Mind you, it was darker when I was sitting, and we had only 2 lamps on, and they're not too close to where I was, so you couldn't fully see the floor, okay? So I go to sit back down, I'm sitting, and like 5 minutes go by, and I feel a sharp pain under my thigh. I don't pay much attention to it, but then it got a little more painful, and I'm still just sitting there. I feel under my leg, maybe thinking like I dropped a chip and didn't notice, and now it's stabbing me, because that has happened before. 2 more minutes go by, and the sharp pain is still there. So I get confused, I sit up, look down at the floor, and boom. A flippin' bee, crawling and struggling since it's been under my frickin' thigh for over 8 minutes. I stand there watching it struggle on the floor with no words. I feel the sting and go, I think I got stung. Mom? What? I got stung by a bee. What? Yeah, so I told my mom, and she was beyond confused. We checked to see if it was a honeybee and left a stinger, but no, just a yellow jacket, thankfully. So yeah. Now I guess we can add another bug story to the group of other animators that have talked about them. Yeah? Yeah? No? No? Okay. Well, that's gonna be it. Thanks for listening to me rant for a bit. Haven't made a story time in a bit, and I thought these stories were kind of funny. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching. Okay, bye. I don't know, man. Still to this day, eating watermelon traumatizes me sometimes. I don't know, man. Still till this day, eating watermelon tries it. Again? So before this little incident happened, I was bragging and kept saying I'm never gonna get stung by a bee, ever. I'm not gonna let it happen. One of my sisters who've gotten stung multiple times in one day probably got annoyed with me after a while. And when this happened, I have to say I was like 13 or 14 at the time. I'm gonna lose my mind. Oh my god, bro, really? So our living room looked kind of something like this. And I was sitting here, oh, god dang it! So here, this is what happened. I take my spoon and scoop up some watermelon, like I have, and have been doing. And I'm standing there chewing the watermelon. I don't know why I just started singing. Oh god. Subscribe. Please.